Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be wading into the world of alkalized water. The stuff you see everywhere, promising all kinds of health
Oh,
benefits.
yeah, it's definitely having a moment.
But is there any truth to those claims? Or is it all just clever marketing?
That's what we're here to find out.
We've got a few really interesting sources to unpack. First up, we've got this article from McGill University's Office for Science and Society. They take a pretty skeptical view, to say the least, of the whole alkalized water craze.
They're definitely not buying the hype.
Then things get a bit more serious as we look at the FDA investigation from March 2021 into real water brand alkaline water. There were reports of acute non-viral hepatitis in Nevada linked to this brand.
Yeah, this case really raises some red flags about the potential dangers of some of these products.
And finally, we'll discuss the huge $5 billion punitive damages verdict from October 2024 in a lawsuit connected to that contamination of real water.
That's a massive amount, and it really underscores the potential consequences when health claims aren't backed up by science and proper safety measures.
Absolutely. So today, we're going to cut through the marketing jargon, figure out what the real experts are saying or not saying about alkalized water, and hopefully help you make more informed choices as a consumer. So let's jump right in. First off, let's talk about what these companies are actually claiming alkalized water can do.
Well, the McGill article sums it up pretty well. They call the marketing of ionized alkaline water mind-numbing nonsense.
Ouch.
Yeah, they don't hold back. They list all sorts of claims like increased energy, weight loss, reversing aging, boosted immunity, controlled blood pressure, you name it.
Wow, it's like a miracle cure in a bottle.
Some even go so far as to claim it prevents cancer and increases life expectancy.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty bold.
Yeah.
But what kind of explanations do they offer for these supposed benefits?
Well, this is where it gets interesting. They talk about things like electrons spinning left, an increased oxygen-hydrogen angle for body oxygenation, and positive polarity for flushing out toxins.
Electron spinning left. What does that even mean?
Your guess is as good as mine. They also talk about smaller water molecule clusters for superhydration.
Okay, that all sounds very sciencey, but is there any truth to it?
Not according to McGill. They say there's absolutely no scientific evidence to support any of these claims. They call the term ionized alkaline water scientifically meaningless.
So what's actually happening when you use these water ionizers?
It's basically a process called electrolysis. You're running an electric current through the water, which breaks it down into hydrogen and oxygen gas. What's left behind are hydroxide ions, which make the water alkaline.
So it's like a dilute solution of, say, baking soda.
Kind of, and that's exactly the point the McGill article is making. You could achieve a similar level of alkalinity with baking soda, or even drain cleaner, obviously not recommending you do that, without spending a fortune on a fancy water ionizer.
Right, that makes sense. One of the big arguments you hear is that our bodies are too acidic and that we need alkalized water to balance that out. What's the truth behind that?
Well, first off, there's no such thing as an overly acidic body. Our bodies are incredibly good at regulating our pH levels, especially our blood pH, which is naturally slightly alkaline.
So our bodies are already alkaline.
Yeah, and they work hard to stay that way. It's crucial for all sorts of bodily functions. In fact, if our blood pH were to change drastically, it could be life-threatening.
So drinking alkaline water isn't going to change our overall body pH.
Not really. When you drink it, it hits your stomach, which is highly acidic. That acidity pretty much neutralizes any alkalinity in the water before it even gets absorbed into your bloodstream.
Okay, so that debunks that myth. Another claim you see is that alkalized water is a powerful antioxidant. They often show these demonstrations with an ORP meter.
Ah, the ORP meter trick.
What's the deal with that?
Well, alkalized water can sometimes show a negative ORP reading because of dissolved hydrogen, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a powerful antioxidant in the body.
So it's misleading.
Pretty much. Antioxidant activity in our bodies is much more complex than just an ORP reading. There are many other factors involved.
Okay, so it seems like a lot of the marketing around alkalized water is just that, marketing. But now let's move on to the real water case, which takes this issue to a whole other level.
This is where the potential dangers of some of these products become very real.
So the FDA started investigating real water brand alkaline water back in March 2021 after reports of acute non-viral hepatitis in Nevada. That sounds serious.
It is. Hepatitis is a serious liver condition, and it's not something you'd expect to get from drinking water.
And it wasn't just a few isolated cases, right?
No, there were 21 probable cases and 4 suspect cases linked to real water.
Wow, that's a lot.
And tragically, there was even 1 death. Many of the people who got sick had to be hospitalized.
That's terrible. But did the FDA ever figure out what was causing the hepatitis?
Initially, they couldn't pinpoint a specific contaminant through their lab tests.
Really? So they knew real water was the culprit, but they didn't know why.
It can be tricky to identify the exact cause, especially if it's a chemical or toxin that's present in small amounts or breaks down over time. But the fact that all these people got sick after drinking the same product was pretty damning evidence.
Absolutely. So what happened next?
Well, Real Water Inc. eventually agreed to cease operations in June 2021. The FDA had concerns about their facilities and the possibility of contamination. They also issued repeated warnings to the public, telling people not to drink, cook with, sell, or serve real water, alkaline water.
Even for pets, right?
Yeah, even for pets. They were really emphasizing the seriousness of the risk.
And then fast forward to October 2024, and a jury awarded a massive $5 billion in punitive damages to the victims.
Yeah, that's an eye-watering amount.
It is. And on top of that, there were also millions of dollars in compensatory damages awarded. So what was the final word on what contaminated the water?
Well, during the trial, the company's lawyers actually admitted that the water was contaminated with hydrazine.
Hydrazine. What's that?
It's a toxic chemical that's used in things like rocket fuel.
Rocket fuel. What was that doing in alkalized water?
That's a good question. The company's lawyers argued that it wouldn't have been detected by standard safety testing, but that's not really a defense.
No. It sounds like a major failure of quality control.
Absolutely. The attorney for the victims described how his client suffered acute liver failure, with one even needing a liver transplant.
Wow, that's just awful.
It really highlights the devastating impact this contamination had on people's lives. And while there might be legal limits on how much of that $5 billion the company will actually have to pay, the verdict itself sends a very strong message.
It does. It shows that companies can't just make outlandish health claims and then ignore basic safety protocols. So if we look at the McGill article and the real water case side by side, it paints a pretty stark picture. On the one hand, you have experts saying there's no scientific basis for the health claims of alkalized water. And then on the other hand, you have a real-world example of a product that not only didn't live up to its promises, but actually caused serious harm.
Yeah, it's a cautionary tale, for sure.
So what's the takeaway for consumers? What should people keep in mind when they see these products being marketed?
I think the biggest thing is to be skeptical. Don't believe everything you see in an ad or on a product label. If a claim sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
And what about if you are considering buying a health-related product? What should you look for?
Well, first and foremost, look for credible scientific evidence. See if the company can back up its claims with studies that have been published in reputable journals. Don't just rely on testimonials or anecdotal evidence.
So don't believe everything you read on the internet.
Exactly. And be wary of any products that promise quick fixes or miracle cures. Real health improvements take time and effort.
And remember, if you have specific health concerns, it's always best to talk to a doctor or a registered dietitian.
Absolutely. They can give you personalized advice based on your individual needs.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think the main message is clear. Be a critical consumer, do your research, and don't be afraid to question what you hear. The alkalized water craze might be tempting, but the science just isn't there to support it.
And as the real water case shows, there can be real risks involved when companies prioritize profit over safety.
What are your thoughts on all this? What other questions does this raise for you? Maybe you want to look into the regulations around health claims for food and beverages, or the role of the FDA in ensuring product safety.
Those are all great avenues for further exploration. It's important to be informed and to advocate for yourself as a consumer.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us. We hope you found it informative and that it gives you some food for thought the next time you see that bottle of alkalized water on the shelf.
Thanks for having me.
And until next time, stay curious and stay healthy.